What's up? I'm back. Welcome back to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. Guys, I've missed you so much. I've missed you so much. Come here. The stress, it just never ends. Anyway, to explain exactly where I've been gone for the last couple of weeks, basically my mother ended up being rushed to the hospital because more health issues cropped up, and since she doesn't have anybody there to be there for her, I made sure to be there for her and made myself available. All this stress going on from that and then other outside stresses, I basically was feeling extremely unwell, and I decided maybe it might be good to just take a few days just to kind of rest up and recuperate my energy. Turns out the stress followed me into my resting hours, and I couldn't get much of rest. Now I'm feeling much better, and I really want to just get back to making some more RPG horror stories and interacting together, and that's what we're gonna do for today, as I'm finally got to record some. Let's get some RPG horror stories for today. One of my players ran off after his character died to his stupidity. So I was running a one-shot for a bunch of first-time players on a summer vacation, and one of my players decided to shoot everything that wasn't from their party. So the party was going in a dungeon to help a sheep turn back to their real form after being polymorphed, and everything was going well. Is this by any chance the one-shot that I saw on Jaden Animations? I think she made a video about doing a one-shot. There's basically a one-shot storyline that you can do, a one-shot adventure of basically a sheep barging into a tavern and is looking for help, has a message in its mouth, basically it's polymorphed or it needs help, and you gotta go out and help it. What is that called? Does anybody know? In a final room, they fought against the boss, a shape-changing beast. The sheep was able to get a hold of the artifact that was causing the shape changing and got transformed into a giant constrictor snake. They were able to defeat the beast, but the cleric decided to shoot the friendly snake. I told him that the snake was friendly and shot it anyway. The players were able to restrain the cleric and they left the dungeon. On the outside, the snake sheep was turned back into the true form, a half-orc paladin. After the paladin rewarded the party, the cleric decided to shoot him again, because he wanted more loot. I don't know if I like or hate the fact this cleric is just going for shoot first, ask questions later. Well, I can think of a couple of things what's going on. Either cleric thinks that the NPC is a piñata, a loot piñata, and you're supposed to kill it for every single loot, or they're maybe bored. I don't know. The paladin blocked the shot and warned him not to do it thrice, and the cleric decided to shoot the bard, one of the few characters who was actually nice. Paladin had enough of his BS and smited him. As he was very damaged from the dungeon, it knocked him out immediately. However, the paladin, who is lawful good after all, gave him a bit lay of hands to prevent him from dying. After the dungeon, the party headed out into a desert to find a blue dragon wormling. After a while, the party found the wormling, and the rogue tried to tame it how to train a dragon style. Succeeded, and the cleric shot the wormling, even though he was told by the rogue that if he hurt the dragon, she would kill him. And surprise, the cleric died. The player just stood up and left the room with the words, "Game." I'm sorry, hold on. Give me a second. This whole situation just seems absolutely absurd. I'm imagining in my mind's eye exactly what's happening at the table. Everybody gather around to play a little bit of D&D. Potentially, they're probably first-timers that are learning everything about the game, and maybe the cleric was told, this is a game where you could do anything you want, and they took that literally. So instead of exploring the world and interacting with the world in some meaningful way, they decided to go with a murder hobo approach that typically you'd have in an open-world game, and just kill everything just to try to see what it can grant you. And then even after being warned that actions have consequences, and players specifically said, if you kill this thing, I will end you. And they decided to shoot the wormling anyway, get the character killed obviously because they warned ahead of time, to just stand up and say, "Crap game," and just stomp off. It's just ridiculous. What is going on? What is the context behind the story? I'm so curious. Shortly after we finished the session, as the mood was very low, after we cleaned up and the majority left the room, the cleric player returned and threatened to throw the summer vacation currency from the rogue player out of the window. Luckily, he didn't. Not the best session I had. Edit, thanks for the advice. I'm relatively new to D&D, and this was the moment my third time DMing. Summer vacation currency, I'm not sure 100% what's going on. I'm assuming it's maybe a bunch of people that pulled the money together and just on summer vacation, and somebody decided to be butthurt. That's what I'm assuming was going to happen. But either way, you said this is your third time being DM, and I'm assuming you probably have a lot of players that maybe have a bit of beginner to kind of moderate experience. But clearly you don't have everybody that's geared to specifically play for D&D, ergo the cleric and their behavior. Cleric is probably somebody that doesn't know much about D&D, maybe understands the general playing mechanics, and instead of engaging with the content, they're going with the video gamey approach of kill everything that moves around and see what happens. Because in video game you can just quickly load back in case you make a mistake, in case you kill somebody important and just undo the factor. However, in D&D, when it comes to making stories and stuff, unless the group specifically wants to retcon everything and just undo it, typically actions have consequences, and whatever you do as a character ends up carrying over to later on. Kill a butterfly, you summon a god, and stuff like that. Probably not to that capacity, but you get what I mean. There might be a couple things going on, but either Cleric is just extremely bored with the game and really shouldn't join the game because they're just not interested in engaging with the story, or they want to engage with the story but they don't get the opportunity to, so they think, well, just engage by shooting everything. The issue, however, here is that it's not a crap game, but a crap player. And honestly, just a lesson for DM to learn that some people are just not fun to play TTRPGs with. They may be fun in other aspects, hanging out, watching movies, talking about your favorite things, but like, some people are just not geared out or don't have a specific mindset to play TTRPGs. Either way, let's get to the next RPG horror story for today, and oh boy, the next one seems to be interesting to say the least. My DM is nerfing my character. So playing a D&D 5e campaign. My DM has made it so that it's realistic with stab wounds, damaged organs, and everything of that sort. And I wanted to play Paladin, and naturally with defense and plate, I made a 21 AC Paladin. But my DM said this was too overpowered and nerfed it by lowering it to 18 and capping it at 18. So if I cast a Shield of Faith or Shield, it wouldn't work. Is this a red flag? The other players was fine with this because he said, and I quote, well, you would have the AC over Dragon. If this DM wants to keep armor class for players low, here's how you can do things. Don't let players grab plate early on. Simple as that. If they can't grab plate early on, they have to wear chainmail, which gives them 16 AC, plus shield 18 AC, and there we go. They're set with flat 18 AC right then and there. Players starting off with plate, yeah, you ruin yourself off for early game disaster. So I have talked to my DM and found out why. He said, and I quote, I don't want you to be that powerful at lower levels. At low levels, you meant to struggle, end quote. So after that, I decided to play Wizard. But my DM had banned Divination and War. So after that, I left because Divination is my favorite subclass. Yeah, it's annoying and powerful, but I'm a wizard with no HP. I don't think it's that bad. There's nothing wrong with Divination Wizard whatsoever. I think Divination Wizard is pretty cool. Some people may think it's overpowered, but like the whole balance is, the whole point is you're a squishy ass wizard. You either can have some defenses for yourself, or you just completely forgo defenses to be a glass cannon and fire fireballs all day long. I mean, yeah, you have other spells other than fireball, but there's nothing wrong with playing Divination Wizard or War Wizard. It's like this DM is allergic to players getting any sort of AC benefits or anything like that, or any sort of defensive benefits. Also, if you want your players to struggle early on, like I said earlier, don't give them plate armor from very beginning. Plate armor can be very busted, especially at early levels when enemies, like level 3 and stuff, don't have more than like a +3 or potentially a +4 hit chance. You know, I think it would be fun to name sometimes the massive wound rule came into play before the Paladin incident. One time I was stabbed in the knee and had half speed for a couple of days. My party member was hit in the shoulder and dislocated it and had disadvantage on all attacks. My wizard was hit in the head really hard, so he had a concussion, so he had disadvantage on all mental checks. And if he wanted to cast a spell, he had to do a DC 18 con save. And finally, I had my character pierced through the lung and gained 4 levels of exhaustion. I gained 4 levels of exhaustion just reading the first part of the paragraph and just thinking of the fact that this DM just really is allergic to AC benefits or anything like that. If you want to have a more hardcore experience for your players, they'll want to be a little more protective of the characters. Imagine yourself, if you put in a more hardcore experience where wounds and lung piercings and rupturing of organs was a thing, just or dislocating of shoulders or being stabbed in the knee by a random arrow like some sort of Skyrim guard, wouldn't you want to be a little more protective of your character? I know I would. Definitely. I would easily grab Divination Wizard or something with high AC or something with high protection. I'll probably just start playing Turtle. A Turtle with a shield would have really high AC and just turtle up the whole time whenever things go really bad. If I had to make a decision between getting high AC but have my DM be mad at me, or getting 4 stacks of exhaustion because of a long pierce, yeah, I'll probably want to just go with the former. I'll probably want to make sure my character's protected and piss off the DM just to make sure I don't deal with 4 stacks of exhaustion from lung piercing. Anyway, I think that was a really good idea that you left this DM. It just didn't seem like it would be worth it, especially if you're going to be getting your AC capped. Can't even benefit from shield if you're at 18 AC. Oh, sorry, because of the rules, you can't have higher AC than a dragon. Whoa, so fun, so amazing. Here's my tip for all the DMs that are so allergic to AC. Saving throws do not care for your AC. Saving throws will always hit. Anyway, let's get to the last story for today. The first and last time I'll ever play a bard. When I originally shared this with other people, they just laughed me off and said it came with the class. I know that isn't true now, but the class is just tainted for me now. Forgot to include the part of the post originally, and that's my bad. Sorry for the confusion. There's probably going to be a lot more context through this story, but let me tell you one thing right now. Any sort of stereotypes with class are just memes. They're just jokes that aren't supposed to be taken for real. They're not supposed to come with the class or anything. People that try to force a sort of stereotype on playing a specific class, that is the kind of people that you want to try to avoid. You're allowed to make a character however you want to and adopt different aspects depends on the flavor that you're seeking. There's nothing wrong in making a character that's all yourself. It doesn't have to be a specific stereotype. Now, with that out of the way, let's get to this story. Obligatory posting on a throwaway because I'd rather not have the story connected to my main channel for reasons that will become obvious. I've always been a fan of the game, though never a player. See, I have the luxury of a job with long hours, chill management, and a plethora of downtime. Spent some of these nights watching other people play. And that's when I discovered channels like Crit Crab, Den of the Drake, Crispy's Tavern, and everybody's favorite good boy D&D Doge. Being a long-time fan of these channels, I think I finally found the courage to share my own horror story. Trigger warning, the horror of this story involves an underage NPC. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't read further. After talking to a few friends on an online game I used to play, let's call it Run Escape. They got to talking about D&D group that had going on via Discord, and how disappointed they were because this long-running campaign was about to die out, due to the fact that they could not seem to get the new player to stick around. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, obvious red flags, run away, but I really wanted to play. After I expressed my interest and my lack of experience, to my surprise, they invited me without so much as an interview with a DM. The setting took place in a world called Exandria. I later found out this is where Critical Role based its games out of. Our party was comprised of mercenaries hired to find Vox Machina and relieve them of the vestiges of divergence, so they could be stored under lock and key lest they be used to seize power. Interesting, right? I thought so too. Too bad nothing ever came of it. During my session, DM asked what kind of class I'd be willing to play. I explained to him that I was inexperienced and would play any role that would best fit the party. The conversation went as follows. You can pick any class you want, but why don't you start out with a spellcaster? Normally I'd have you start out as paladin, but we already have one. Well, I don't really understand combat. There are any classes that use more roleplay. I have a good idea of how skill checks work. Sure, you could play a bard. Actually, I have a character sheet written out for one if you want. Are you okay with using a pre-made backstory? Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. Awesome. I'm going to have you sit this game out. Spend a week reading over it, and you'll be ready to join us next time. I gotta be honest, I wouldn't give Bard for somebody that's new to the game, unless they really wanted to do some spellcasting, and the real flavor of Bard with the whole max charisma, persuasion, performance, and stuff like that. If somebody wants to play a more straightforward character, I honestly would just recommend them Fighter. That'd be just pretty straightforward as well. And you could play certain subclasses of Fighter, like the Eldritch Knight, that has a little bit of spellcasting. I understand Fighter has the stereotype of being a little bit more boring. A human fighter is the most standard of standard you could possibly make, the most boring of boring. But its simplicity is probably what would make it really easy for a new player to understand what to do. I mean, if not Fighter, Monk could be pretty easy to understand. All of them can be easy to understand. It really just depends on the complexity the players are ready for and how actively you can explain to them what's going on. As somebody who started the game, D&D in general, as a warlock, I wasn't told that I can get new spells as I leveled up. So I was level 8 or level 9, and I only had 4 spells that I started with. I didn't know I could get new spells. Nobody told me anything, and only until I started reading stuff instead of just specifically being guided by somebody, then only I understood, wait a minute, I can have more spells? Whoa! But as long as you have a good DM and a good group that's like teaching you how to play, then I think any class can be a good one to start with. Like, you know, except the Artificer. It's very complex. I was over the moon. It was finally happening. I get to roll dice, and the best part, I get to be the goofball. That was until I actually read the backstory. I won't bore you with writing the whole thing out, but to summarize, the guy was a changeling eloquence bard who spent his life living among various families while impersonating the dearly departed. He'd use people up for all they were worth until they got caught and move along. Not really my thing, but okay. Bards supposed to be huge flirts, right? Only if you want to be a huge flirt. I mean, at the end of the day, like, make character however you want to. Also, find it really strange this DM doesn't just offer up a choice of, hey, do you want to make a new character? We can sit down and figure out the backstory. Instead, they just kind of shove their other character onto this new player and expect them to play him. But how they expect them to play? I don't know. One of the most fun things you can do in D&D is making your character. Obviously, playing character is fun and all, but dude, once you learn how to make a character, you can make hundreds of characters, and it's so fun to create different combinations of different backgrounds and races and classes and subclasses and different backstory ideas and stuff, and creating a persona, a true character. But this DM to just like take a character they already have and just shove into this new player without even bending any part of the backstory and having to force him to stick with the backstory is just, I don't know, man, it's weird. They should have just given him the character, but just give him a clean slate to make whatever they want to make. Simple as that. As time passes, sessions go on, I start getting a little bit better at the game. Start taking liberties with the character, and this is where the horror story starts. The party and I camped out a successful battle. My characters play music while the rest go about their own business. OP, you notice a woman approaching the campfire, seemingly attracted by your song. She introduces herself as Calliope and asks if she may sit near the flame just to enjoy the warmth and your song. I continue playing my song, but not in acceptance. As I finish the song, I inform her anybody is welcome by the flame, so long as you come in peace. You notice the woman's gaze hasn't left her since she sat down. Can I sneak a few glances at her as I play, to see if I notice anything interesting? You can't be sure, but she seems young. You notice her clothes are worn and wet, and are revealing in certain areas. This girl has clearly been on her own, and luck has not been on her side for some time. I would ask what certain areas, but we all know, it's this kind of DM, this kind of story, that's probably gonna get really uncomfortable. Brace yourselves, everybody. Oh, you poor thing, I'm sorry. Here, let's get you out of those clothes before you catch your death. You can change over there by the tree. Do you ask her age? That's the furthest thing from her mind right now. She's in dire need of warmth. Do you tell her that? Well, of course. Does she take the cloak? She does. Make an insight check. I'm confused, I roll and I pass. As she takes your coat, you see a hint of fear in her eyes. She goes behind the tree and never returns. What do? I inform the party that our friend has returned in a while and should probably go look for her. Your party is on the camp with you. It occurs to you that in the time you've been talking with a girl, you don't remember hearing a peep from your friends. It's likely they're off doing their thing. Will you seek her out on your own? Against my better judgment, yes, I can't leave her to the elements. There's something wrong here. DM smiles and asks me to make a survival check. I roll low, so he tells me it takes much longer than it should to have, but eventually, I'll find the girl and my party. Trigger warning for the rest of the post, including assault of an NPC who is revealed to be a minor. I won't go into detail, but I'll walk into my party, attacking the girl while she's tied down on a large flat rock. God damn it, the other players were in on it, weren't they? They were in on it, weren't they? That's why they didn't say anything. That's why nobody said nothing. Or maybe they weren't in on it. Maybe they're just being kind of kowtowed around with this DM. They notice me and say, we're taking turns. What the hell, guys? Seriously? No. Oh, come on, Bard. We couldn't let you have all the fun. Come on, warmed her up for you. I like to cast Hypnotic Pattern to see if I can subdue everyone. No infighting. I'm not attacking them. I'm just trying to subdue them. The same thing. Find a way to rectify the situation without attacking your friends. They're assaulting the poor girl, they're not my friends. You could choose to split from the party, but understand, there will be consequences. You want to proceed? Fine, whatever, I don't care. Can I cast my spell? Okay, roll initiative. I cast Counterspell. OP, your spell's been nullified. I cast Enthrall on OP. OP, make a wisdom save. I roll my wisdom save and I fail. I command OP to do something very awful to the girl that I won't repeat. Thank you for that censorship, I appreciate it. I'm shocked. I don't even know how to react to this, but it only gets worse. I know hindsight is 2020, but clearly LP, the only thing would be to leave this weird fetish freak game, because yes, it is a fetish game. It's a weird sex kink game that apparently is orchestrated by the DM and the rest of the party. They just want to do some weird monkey stuff with a fictional minor and to have the entire party basically have a circle jerkle around. I hope I can say circle jerkle. I don't fucking know. At this point, this is just a weird sex fetish game that is just not worth playing in. There's kind of games like this, so if you feel uncomfortable, you just say, leave, I'm out of here, bye, this shit's not for me. Imagine you just want to play D&D for the very first time, and you get an opportunity, and it ends up being soured because the DM is a weird sex freak, and the party also weird sex freaks that do this specific scenario to try to introduce somebody to the new game. No wonder the game fell apart. There's no wonder the game started to finally crash and burn, because nobody else wants to play in this weird sex freak game with you guys. Nobody is interested. If that's what you want to be running, no wonder the game is going to start falling apart. You don't have people that want to play this sort of stuff. If you want to let people know ahead of time this is the kind of game you're playing, you let them know ahead of time. Make sure it's very readily apparent that it is some sort of weird fetish fantasy game. Don't just spring it up on people out of nowhere like it's a normal thing to do. F this DM and f the entire party for what they're doing to this OP. What a horrible first game experience, dude. I'm shocked. I don't even know how to react to this, but it only gets worse. The wizard also casts Modify Memory on the girl. She fails her save, and he tells her that after I gave her my code, I took her behind the tree and had my way with her. They keep me subdued until the town guard arrives and arrests me. I'm sure at this point you're wondering why I didn't just pack my crap and leave. I don't know, maybe some part of me thought this was just some big joke, and I'll find out we're all under some kind of devil charm. They roleplay an entire trial. The girl takes a stand, reveals herself to be my 15-year-old daughter who saw that after her mother died of plague. She tells the court that her age was the furthest thing from your mind and your main concern was giving her warmth. I am found guilty and executed. And I think that's where we'll end for today. Great job, OP. You took it like a champ. You have a week to roll a new character. Roll a new character? Well, yeah, the bard is dead, and no one is resurrecting that piece of crap. But he was innocent. The party did all that. Did they? This DM is a definition of a big sack of shit. Absolute fucking degenerate. And not just because they ran this specific game, but it's because they literally took this character that they put together and pushed it onto the player. So they specifically orchestrated this whole thing. They created a character that was just a sick bastard and pushed it to the new player to deal with the consequences of playing the sick bastard with all the backstory and all the nonsense. If this isn't some sort of like, not necessarily, I mean, I don't know if it's like bullying or hazing or something. Could be considered bullying and hazing to the new guy. This is not a game worth playing. This is not a game worth playing, and these people just absolutely suck. I love the voice call and love the group. And the clan in the online game I met those guys in. It will be 4 years before I play again, but I'll never play a bard again. TLDR. Party of losers recruits me only to ultimately make me witness their sick fantasy and make me the villain. OP, I can let you know right now, you can make whatever bard that you want to make, whether they be some sort of a social flirt, or maybe like a political savant, or a performer, or a spy, or a martial prowess character that has skills in magic, or whatever you want to make. Whatever character you want to make, regardless of the class, subclass, race, species, background, whatever, make whatever you want to make. Don't let weird stereotypes influence that, and don't let these horrible, terrible individuals influence your restriction on playing a specific class. I get it's gonna take a while to wash the bad taste in your mouth from this whole experience, but if you're playing a good group with a good DM and a good party that, you know, is just willing just to have fun and play some TTRPGs together, I think you can give it another shot. Now that you're in control of the story and character and playing with a good party instead of playing with a piece of crap DM and the other party members of absolute freaks. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.